If you're enjoying these videos, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share them. Today's topic is flight plan. What is it? How do you record it? Why it's important? And how do you build it? In every sector, every industry, there is a means by which prospective candidates are evaluated to determine whether or not they are capable of executing the job they're being hired for. For the tech sector, it is a coding challenge. For a truck driver, it's ensuring you can back up a tractor trailer in a small space. For other sectors, it may be certificate required training. For pilots, it is flight time. And it is as it sounds. It's the amount of time he or she spends flying the airplane. For example, if I flew from, say, Chicago to Denver, and that flight took me 3 hours, that 3 hours of flight time I will log as flight time. However, flight time is broken down into different pieces. If, for example, in that 3 hours, part of it was nighttime, I will log that portion of the flight as nighttime. If part of the flight is in instrument condition, defined as anytime the aircraft is controlled by instrument only, which the regulation states occur above flight level 180 or 18,000 feet, or anytime the ground is obscured by any weather or unnatural phenomenon. That portion of the flight I will log as instrument flight rules. It can be 1 hour, it can be half an hour, or it could be 2 hours. If the plane I conducted this flight in has more than one engine, I will log that time as multi-engine time also. If it is a turbine plane, I will log that time as turbine time. If I am the PIC or the pilot in command of that flight, I will log it as PIC time. If I'm the individual sitting in the right seat, I will log it as SIC time. There is some debate as to whether or not someone who sits in the right seat can log PIC time. You can log it, but only if you have a PIC type rating for the aircraft you're flying. If it's just an SIC type rating on your certificate, you are not allowed to log it as PIC time. If it's a single engine, I will also log it as a single engine. Now, let's say you are a brand new pilot. You just got your private pilot, instrument rating, commercial pilot, and you chose to become an instructor. How do you go about building flight time? Well, you can either become an instructor, which is what most people do, and build your flight time that way. Or you can choose to do what I did, do something called aerial photography, flying a 172 throughout the country, taking pictures of farm, land, urban areas, and terrains. You can also choose to use a 172 to do what's called pipeline surveillance and electrical cable surveillance. This is where you fly along those two items and look for leaks, breakage, and in the cases of electrical lines, you're trying to make sure that there aren't any loose or fallen poles. As a pilot, there are two goalposts you need to achieve when building your flight time. The first is 1,200 hours and the second is 1,500 hours. Once you achieve that 1,200 hours goalpost, you can then do what's called single pilot IFR flying, also referred to as 135 flying. It is typically where You fly it can either be a single engine plane or it can be a multi-engine plane flying cargo at night. Usually they do have some flights that occur during the daytime, but those are highly unlikely, I want to say. There just aren't a lot of them. Most of them are at night. After you achieve this 1200 hours, your next goalpost is to get to 1500 hours if you want to work for the airlines. In a previous video entitled What's Behind the Pilot Shortage, I explained how we arrive at the 1500 hours time required to become an airline pilot. I invite you to go and watch that video. There you will find any answers you need to any questions you may have. Now, flight time is important, but I often question whether or not it is the best way for us to evaluate whether or not someone is capable of executing their job. In my case, I have, I think, about 4,500 hours of flight time. Some of my friends have in terms of 10,000, 15,000 hours. But I would put my flight hours up against theirs anytime because of the quality of my flight time. Most of it I did with single pilot flying at night in a Cessna 208. Most of my friends, they did what's called long-haul flying, meaning they did a lot of Atlantic crossing, flying between the United States and Europe. Not taking anything away from these individuals, they are excellent pilots. But I believe my flight time and how I go about getting it is of a greater quality when compared to theirs because of what I learned while I was doing it. So let's assume you achieved your 1500 hours and you started applying to the airlines, but you're still not getting called. The 1200 hours and the 1500 hours are the absolute basic minimum that does not guarantee you a job. When you look at job posting, most of them will say total flight time 2,500 hours. And let's assume at this stage in your career, you have far exceeded the 1,500 hours requirement and you have 3,000 hours, but you're still not getting calls. The reason this is the case is because of the sub requirements listed under the total flight time required. Sometimes it will say turbine time X amount, multi-engine time X amount, instrument time X amount, and in rare cases some of them may even ask for multi-engine time, for multi-crew time. They will also ask for multi-engine time, as I've stated. These minimums are there for insurance purposes. The companies obviously needs to be insured against accidents and incidents. The insurance companies, however, will not insure them unless they hire pilots who have met and in some cases exceeded these minimums. For this reason, the companies are not in a position to waive those minimums. Those are hard minimums that you must meet. It is the FAA who sets the rules and the regulation for flying. They're the ones who also enforce it. But the ones with the real power, who actually controls who get hires and who don't, is the insurance company. And there is this other company called Wyvern, where they look at your operations, they inspect it, and they determine your safety level. And you get this seal where companies can put on their website and says, we are Wyvern certified. Wyvern requires every new pilot, especially if you're going to become a PIC, to have certain amount of flight time. You're not getting called back because your resume is not up to snuff. You're not getting called back because you may have answered the wrong question. Certainly that could be a contributing cause. But the number one reason why you may not be getting that call back is because of the sub-qualifying requirements for the job. And that is your instrument flight time, your multi-engine time, your turbine time, and in rare cases, your multi-crew time. Right, I think that's it for this one. If you guys have any questions or comments about anything I've said, please leave it in the comments below. And my Google Analytics have told me that most of you who watch these videos are not subscribers. I'm trying to increase my subscribers base. If you like this video, please subscribe and turn your notification bell on. And that's it for this one. Until next time, be good. Thanks for watching.